Greetings, dear gentle and not so gentle sentient viewers. I'm the Skeptical Ape, and I felt like it was finally time that I needed to add my voice to this growing pseudo-debate between science and superstition that's been raging across large swaths of YouTube and the internet and our societies in general. I feel it's very important that before I go on any further, I state my position, how I reached this position, and how it's affected my perspective. So, since as long as I can remember, I've been a skeptic. I've always asked for evidence for every claim I heard, and for the most part, I was met with lots of really amazing reading material and a lot of really amazing people who helped teach me to not what to know, but how to know. They taught me to think critically about all things, how to critically weigh evidence so that I could figure out what were the facts and what was the fantasy. Well, as I was getting older, I realized that all these religious claims that I was hearing, amongst all the other claims that I was hearing, out of all these claims, none of the religious claims that I ever heard had any empirical evidence for them whatsoever. None of them. And as a person who's always spent most of my time reading about different human cultures, wanting to understand what they thought and how it led them to the actions that they took, I was always reading books on religion, people's religions, the mythologies of humankind throughout the ages. And it was about the time I was 10 or 12 that I realized that to this point there is no empirical evidence for any religious claims that have been made, period. And I realized that I was an atheist, and I always had been. I don't believe in supernatural entities. I don't believe in ghouls or goblins. I don't believe in unicorns or the tooth fairy. And I don't believe in gods. I don't believe in any kind of supernatural agency. I don't believe in magic. I'd love magic to be real, but just wanting something to be real doesn't make it real. So it led me to this perspective where I have one life. I have one life to improve the lives around me, because we all have one life, and to squander it in misery and hardship and despair is no way to spend this one life. So I feel we have an obligation to each other to help improve each other's lives, because as morality is a social construct that is created by social animals to help improve the lifespans and the amount of progeny that these individuals are able to give forth, I see that our greatest tool is this morality, this evolutionary morality that helps force into our minds in many ways the inclinations to help others when they're down, and to help each other out when we see the need. So it's led me to the perspective that out of this one life, we have an obligation to live it to the fullest, to help each and every other individual live it to the fullest. And it led me to the position that all gods, every single one of them throughout history, have been a human construct to justify petty tyrants and vicious bullies, all in this life. So, as a person who's never seen any evidence for any kind of supernatural agency, and as a person who has spent his entire life searching for said evidence, if any of you watching this, if anyone's watching this, if any of you are a theist and you feel like you have evidence for your personal deity, your personal claims, lay it out. I'd love to hear it. That doesn't mean that I want to start hearing you quote scripture, because scripture is not evidence. It's not evidence. Just something being in a book and you having the ability to quote it does not make it evidence. That's a claim. Now, the physical things that support it, that's the evidence. Because I could say that communism is the right choice because, hey, there's this book called The Communist Manifesto written by Karl Marx and Frederick Engels, and it says that communism works. So I'll quote that book, and lo and behold, communism works. But not necessarily. The book makes claims. It's not evidence. Same with your book. So, if you think you have some empirical evidence that supports your claims for divine agency, let me know. Myself and many, many others are part of the human population that for thousands of years have been waiting for some evidence. Because, I'd really be interested. If you could show me some evidence for this, I think that it would be another really amazing outlook on life, if it was true, if it had any evidence to support it. I just don't think so. So, drop me some evidence. I'd love to hear it. And if you aren't a theist, if you're an atheist or an agnostic, maybe even, a pantheist, seeing everything as a collection, being that one and naming that one thing God. In some ways I'm an atheistic pantheist. I don't see any supernatural agency behind it. But, anybody, drop me a response, drop me a line. I'd love to see some discussions and conversations go further. But until next time, let science and reason be your light through this darkness. And always be gazing up to the stars. Skeptical Ape out.